Hey guys, what's up tonight? Seeing you at a slightly different time than I generally do. Probably going to have a slightly different crowd here tonight, which will be interesting. As you can see, I have to keep it down a little bit since it's late and the wife and daughter are going to be sleeping soon. But yeah, it's going to be cool streaming at night. Generally, I'd like to be drinking a beer when we're doing a lot of the things that we're doing, but it's midday, or actually earlier than midday. It's like 10 a.m. here. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who can make it at this time of day as opposed to so early in Eastern Standard Time here. But as you can see from the description and thumbnail and all that stuff, we're finally going to be installing this 40 mil fan on the Mk2. I've had it for a while now and just haven't gotten to it. So yeah, hey, what's up, guys? What's up, Gustner? Dragon, Logical, Turin Carns. What's up, everybody? Bob, Imagination. Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how this works. I'd kind of like to switch one of my days to a different time because like 10 a.m. it's fantastic for some people and absolutely terrible for everybody else. So I'm thinking of switching one of the days to an evening like this because obviously like being able to kind of relax and drink a beer and stuff in the evening, not having to go anywhere after I'm done is kind of nice. I've got a renegade eyelash here. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. I have another thing I've had for a while now that I never used was I have this decibel meter. I know you can use your cell phone and stuff, but I wanted to get something that might be a little bit more accurate. So we're going to do some baseline testing with the fan that's on there. And I don't know like how objectively accurate this thing is, but hopefully the readings will be, we'll notice a difference between the relativity. Oh my God. I haven't even opened my beer yet. Listen to me. But hopefully the difference in the readings will be of some value, so we can see like a percentage change. Nice rule. So yeah, well, I'm gonna bust this thing open first. We'll get some batteries in here. Actually, let's bust this thing open first. I can't imagine that a phone makes an accurate sound meter. I'm kind of like thinking the same thing. Like obviously any speaker can be used to do that, or any microphone, but the whole idea is that it's calibrated to some baseline, I would assume. That is not how you pour a beer. We could compare it with the phone app. I do have my phone sitting over here, but my internet service sucks down here. Yeah, we won't do that. We'll use this. Because like I said, the only thing, the actual numbers won't matter. What really matters is like the relative difference. And based on the Amazon reviews, this thing's fairly accurate, so it should be good enough for our purposes. This isn't really scientific. Sound level meter. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to preheat the machine for PLA and get that extruder cooling fan on. And we'll try to keep the test as scientific as possible. It's not really going to be scientific. So I have the bed the whole way forward, and we'll lay this thing in the corner and line it up with the corner so it's at the same relative position for both tests. Because I know these microphones, I don't know what kind this has, but they usually will be more sensitive to the front or the side. I don't know what kind of pattern it is, so we'll try to go about it in a smart way. That thing's loud. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it is loud. That 30 mil fan is surprisingly loud for how big it is. All right. And there's probably some videos out there about how to do this. I don't think it's a complicated process, but I was trying to do a little preparation before I started the stream, and there's really not much out there. So I'm sure there's people, might even be some people here that are wondering how much is involved in this and what exactly to do. How the hell do you do this? That's showing like a surprisingly high reading already. But anyway, drinking PBR me, it's like the cheapest stuff I can stand to drink. Because I hate the taste of beer, and this stuff tastes like beer, and it's cheap. So the cheapness overcomes the beerness. All right. Also linked in the description is the little shroud assembly here. You need to have, basically this breakout that allows you to mount the 40 mil fan to that 30 mil little bracket area. And this thing's designed fairly nicely. You can see they had to inlay a little place here to fit in that tiny little space. So, yeah, this thing seems loud. Or this thing seems off. We might have to break down and read the instructions. Because there I have my hand over it, basically. And it's still showing like 50 decibels. Burp. I don't know. I wonder if we have to like calibrate it. It should be calibrated, right? Because like holding it over here, it's like 49, then it jumps to about 70 when I'm talking. I don't know. I have no idea what decibel ratings are for average noises. So sitting on the bed where we said, it's showing about 70 decibels. 68 to 70 decibels. Yeah, even holding it right up to the fan's about 70 decibels. I don't know, this thing seems weird. 70 decibels is TV volume or freeway traffic at 50 feet. I guess that's about right. Because it's showing about 50 decibels even over here. I don't know, I can't get it to like show basically no noise. Even like wrapping it in my shirt showing like 46 decibels. I don't know. Maybe it's fine. Instructions is a 4-letter word. All right. And then I don't know exactly what hardware we're going to need. I'm assuming we can just use the bolts from the old fan to mount this piece. And then we'll have to come up with something for this. It appears that these are going to have to thread into this little shroud thing. And you can see I have the fan already kind of nestled in the external part of this assembly. Actually fits quite nice. So let's get started. That's showing, like I said, 70 decibels, 68 to 70. So let the printer cool back down, move it over here, and then start working on this. Some things we can go ahead and do. I'll grab my camera. I'm going to go ahead. And I know some of the things we're going to have to do before we even get the printer over here. So we're going to have to strip the casing off of the wires on this, unfortunately, because it's a really nice kind of rubberized wrap that the Noctua comes with. This is a super high quality fan. You can tell from the packaging that it's a really nice product. It comes with a bunch of like accessories and adapter cables and all kinds of stuff for anything you might need it for. But we'll go ahead and get this stripped up. And prepped. Nutella fan. It does kind of have that color scheme. Alright, is that in focus here? Let's get this focused. That's reasonable. But like I said, you can see this comes with a really nice rubberized kind of wrap on it. Shrink wrapping on either end. Pretty nice job they did. And you can see the fan itself is a really nice fan. These are surprisingly quiet. So we're going to try to strip this without actually cutting into the wires themselves. Because obviously that would be bad. Easy enough. Didn't scar the wires at all. And you can also see, I don't know if anybody saw the video I released today, I also have my handy dandy little coaster here. Alright. And like I said, it kind of makes me sad to cut this stuff off, but we're going to have to go ahead and do that. Cut's easy with a sharp blade, so... At least it's effortless. Alright, and unfortunately we're going to have to cut the connector off too, so... I was debating, I know some of you were here earlier when I was talking about how I wanted to potentially do this. I think I'm going to go ahead and solder it instead of worrying about a connector. Because if we do a decent job soldering this in, and we do end up needing to replace it, we can just desolder it and put a replacement fan in at the same joint without really doing any damage to anything. So I think it's just a little bit of unnecessary work worrying about a connector, and we don't have a lot of space to work with. So I think it just kind of unnecessarily complicates things. And it would be nice down the road if you had to replace this to have a connector, you just pop it off, but if you do put a connector on, you're going to have to solder a connector onto your new replacement fan, so you really didn't avoid any soldering anyway, so maybe not worth the bother. Just watch the coaster vid. Did you see your question about the coaster? I might have. I don't recall what it was. So where are we putting this fan? This is going to replace the 30 millimeter fan that cools the extruder heatsink on the Mk2. Because it's noisy. Like I said, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it is noisy. It's the noisiest part of the printer at this point. That should be done in a second. It's at about 50 degrees, which is about the point the extruder fan shuts off. $50. All right. Let's find a good angle to work on this from. It'd be nice if we could take the entire assembly off, but I think that's more work than it's worth. So I'm going to have to do it maybe like this. My beer is going to have to leave the table. That makes me sad. Using this as a part cooling fan. No, this is actually the extruder fan. I'll show you here. The soldering iron is ready, though in the way. I really need to replace this secondary cam thing. It's a little too obtrusive. All right, so here we are. So we have our part cooling fan here. Let me brighten this up a little bit. We have our part cooling fan on the front. And that's fine. This is about average volume. Doesn't make a whole lot of noise. Believe it or not, the noisiest one is this little baby, this little job here. This little 30 mil fan. It's super freaking loud. And what we're going to do is use this little shroud to come in here on the 30 mil side, sit where that fan is, and then allow us to put this Noctua fan off here to the side and probably get a little bit more performance and be a hell of a lot quieter. So let's get this one taken off. We'll see what the deal is with the cables coming out the back of the extruder assembly and what we're going to have to do with those. This might actually be a better angle to start. Because actually putting the fan in place is the easy part. The kind of difficult part of this little project is dealing with the cabling. Oh, they might all be in the pack. There's the right size. So let's pull this fan off and see what we're dealing with the cabling. Because we want to keep this as neat as we can. But we're probably going to have to disassemble our cable chain a little bit and break some of these zip ties and end up replacing some of them. And I'll try not to ignore chat here. What's the streaming at night crap? The 40 mil fan is less performant. Is that a word? Performant? Seems legit. Than the 30 mil fan. It could be the case. It could be the case that you could lower the RPM on the 30 mil fan and reduce the noise. Because usually with fans, dropping, 10% RPM sometimes drops like 50% of the noise. Was there a performance issue? No, it's purely a noise issue. Because you can see I have the... I can't see my camera here. You can see I have the IGUS bushings in the x-axis. And I did go back to the original linear bearings in the Y. Damn it. Damnation. Do I have a longer one? I do have a longer one. This one will be better. The tough part's doing this with my left hand. There we go. But yeah, it's not a performance issue. It's a noise issue. 100% noise. Because like I said, it's possible that you could reduce the RPM of this fan and reduce the noise by quite a bit. But I've never seen anybody do any kind of, objective testing on just how much cooling the heatsink requires. Because I just got an E3D V6 Lite in the mail today, actually. And it comes with a little 30 mil fan. And I don't know if there's any particular reason they send 30 millimeter fans, because they aren't really standard. For most applications in electronics, if you need a quote-unquote small fan, you end up getting a 40 millimeter, just because they're so common. Alright, so there's the 4 unnecessarily large screws holding those in. And it looks like our cable is kind of trapped in here. We'll have to cut this loose. There we go. We're this really thin little black and white sort of braided looking cable here is our 30 mil fan. So I'm thinking we want to have our solder joint back here, probably up inside the cable chain a few inches so it doesn't flex very much. So we'll undo a few of these links. Get this camera up here. Undo a few of these links. We will undo a few. There we go. Undo a few of these links, I said. And maybe 2 or 3 inches up in here, we'll actually do our solder joint. These are a little tight. I've never undone this chain before. And we'll just try to avoid getting in our control box at all, so we don't really interfere with any connections or worry about anything on that end. All right, so there we have a good bit of this undone. That's about 5 inches, I'd say. So we'll pull this out of here, and we'll just kind of have to guesstimate how much cable we need on this. It'll be okay if we have some excess. We can just double it back over itself up in the chain here. So I think we'll leave about that much. And we should be able to route this like right back in these slots all nice and neat. And you won't really see anything out of the ordinary once we have this closed back up. So probably something like that. Back in there. That's probably 1.5 inches extra. We'll get a little more extra. Like I said, and we can just double this up in the chain. I'm not really worried about having too much extra cable. And we'll go ahead and snip this where my cutters go. We'll just cut both of these at the same time. Done. We have chopped the cable in the Mk2. All right, so we're going to untwist this a little bit so it's easier to work with. Doesn't the 30mm fan also help somewhat with part cooling? I don't believe so. I don't really think so. It might, but it doesn't appear to at all. I know it's a little tough to see, but the 30mm fan goes right into the heatsink and out the other side. It doesn't really interact with the area down around the nozzle at all. Do you have shrink tubing? I do have a comically small piece. It's all I happen to have that's the appropriate size. So we're going to try to keep these stripped areas of the wire as small as humanly possible, so we have enough. But even if we don't, I do have enough to demonstrate what's going on, so anybody that watches this will get the idea. All right, so we'll get those cleaned up. There's our 2 leads coming out of the board. We have a red and a black. And out of our fan here, we actually have 3 wires, and we're going to cut one of them because this has a temperature reading device in there that operates on the yellow wire. And we're going to go ahead and cut that out because the Mk2 does not use that. So we're actually going to cut that way up at the fan. There we go. So it's out of the way. We just need power and ground. Nothing too crazy. There we go. And I'm actually going to shift this printer around, because now that we have the wires pulled out, we actually don't need the bulk of the printer sitting here. We can actually just work with the wires themselves. Rest in peace, yellow wire. The horrible color choice. They do have a really bizarre color scheme. It's kind of like a flesh tone with like a reddish brown. And a lot of the Noctua fans are that way. It is really an odd choice. I can't disagree there. Odd choice. So what we're doing? Okay, we're gonna prep these wires. And actually, I think my wire cutters. I think this is a much smaller gauge than these are equipped to cut. So we'll just have to use our little side cutters here. And like I said, we're going to keep these joints as small as possible. We do not need much surface to solder here. So you see, we just have a tiny little bit of that wire stripped. We'll get a little bit more on this one. I think I cut the end of the wire a tiny little bit. But these are really low voltage. There's not much current at all flowing through these wires, so not super critical. So there's those two, stripped and ready to go, and we'll tin those in a second. And we'll strip these ones here on the actual fan. Good, we didn't damage the wire at all. It can be a little tough sometimes cutting the casing off of wires with cutters like this, but it's not too bad. You just need to make sure you're not actually closing the cutting surfaces too much. And we'll give those a little bit of a twist. And then I have my soldering iron sitting over here. It's ready to go. I have the Hako 888, I believe this is. The 888D. And it's a great little station. I think they run between $75 and $100, depending on whether or not you can find them on sale. And they work great. They heat up almost immediately. I really didn't have to have this sitting here ready to go. And I'm actually going to grab my helping hands here. Just little alligator clips on a little stand. They help quite a bit when you're doing stuff like this. So we'll just bring them in here. Get the camera adjusted right. We'll bring them in here, and we'll do one wire at a time. And we'll just get the wires really close with the gator clips. So to make it a little bit easier to solder them. Actually, it makes it quite a bit easier to solder them, not just a little bit. And I untwisted that one a little bit. Oh, before we forget, you want to make sure you put your heat shrink on there. Yeah, Gussner. You want to make sure you put your heat shrink on there. And you can see, this is all the heat shrink I have. I have like 1.25 inch piece. So we're going to cut it in half. Right in the middle. And like I said, if we keep this joint as clean and small as possible, I think this will be enough. I'll actually pull that out of here. And this is even a little bit too big, honestly, looking at it now. I ordered some heat shrink tubing, but it didn't come in time, and I didn't really want to put this off anymore. I've had all this stuff for so long. I feel like an idiot not doing it. Since it is like a simple little project, basically. All right, so we'll line these up. The piece fell off the red one, but that's okay. So you can see we basically just want to line these up so they touch, and it'll make flowing solder onto them so much easier. And I just use this really thin 6040 rosin core solder. It's pretty good for general purpose stuff. And we just want to heat these up. And you see, it's like so easy. Done. We have like a really good solder joint there. Everything's staying in line, nothing crazy. Wires are lined up nice. Easy peasy. So the black's done. Retwist our leads. Get our red lined up in here. Straightened out. And we'll take a drink of beer. Want to do that every few steps. All right, and get the other side in. And don't forget your heat shrink. It fell off the red side, so we'll put it on this side. Same deal. Just line them up. So they're touching. And flow some solder on them. No big whoop. Really thin wires like this are super easy to solder. They heat up like immediately. Effortless. Good to go. All right. So you see that's like super easy. Soldering, if you go about it kind of calmly, super easy to do. I feel like Bob Ross sitting here talking like this. All right, so let's move our heat shrink into place. We'll do one at a time so we keep them lined up right. Just move that over that joint. Make sure it's centered. And then burn our fingers a little bit. Yeah, this heat shrink's a little bit oversized, but hopefully it'll stay in place. You kind of gotta work with what you have sometimes. It's funny, that'll probably come tomorrow now. But that's good enough to keep those in check. Actually just melted those a little bit together a little bit. I think that'll help even more. That way they're not going to slide. But that's pretty much it. And like I said, if we ever do want to replace this fan, all we'll have to do is come back, cut the heat shrink off this, reflow that solder so we can pull these apart, and it won't really be a big deal at all. So there's the electrical side. We are wired up. That is all it takes. Luckily, this is like a really simple voltage only kind of connection. And I'll take a second and catch up on chat here. Happy little solder joint. But yeah, I want to try to keep this video pretty straightforward so I can go back later and edit this down, something people have wanted me to do for a long time. But I'm going to edit this video down and make a sort of concise version for anyone who wants to do this themselves. We're actually going to leave this cable chain open for now, because like I said, we'll actually put this in place and then come back and deal with the cabling, and any excess cable we have we'll route back up into that chain and double it over itself. So we had this little cable chase back here. It is the one right here. Is where the cable for this fan actually came through. So we're going to put this under the belt so we can put that cable back in there and keep everything nice and clean on this front end. Now, as far as bolting this into place, we're going to kind of learn this together. There's a silent L. We're going to kind of figure this out together, because this goes right there, right? No real mystery there. And you can see it's nice and smooth inside. We shouldn't have any resistance or any problems. And there really shouldn't be any clearance issues with anything, because it's out here on the side where there really isn't anything going on. But as far as bolting this into place, I'm not really sure how we go about it. We have two of the bolt holes actually in the shroud here. And I don't know if there's enough room to get those in. I'm kind of thinking we need shorter bolts, because if you imagine the depth of the old fan, that old fan's what, like 6 millimeters thick, something like that, maybe 7. And our new piece is only like 1 or 2 millimeters. So I actually have the bag of spare Mk2 hardware here, and we're going to see if we have a slightly shorter bolt, because I think that one's going to be a little bit too long. And what are these? Looks like we might have 1 or 2 here that'll work. Oh, that's an... Is that right? That looks about right. This one actually looks perfect. I'm not sure we can measure it. I don't know what size this is. This is our original And this is the one that we have in the bag. It looks like it's just the right amount shorter. That one's a little too short. And we actually have a pair of those. Fantastic. So I'll measure these so everybody knows how long they are. Where's my meter? Where's my calipers here? So it looks like, what, there must have been a 20 in there? Is that what you were saying, Gusner? It looks like the originals, the long ones are 20s, and these ones are 15s. So that seems just about right. So we're going to take one of these 15s and put it in one of these holes inside and try our damnedest to actually get that to screw in. But it's going to be kind of awkward. I can see that already. And I don't know what I did with my little hex driver. I'm already losing stuff. Alright, so let's try to get this in here. It looks like we'll be able to get to this one with our little ball end. Or not. Oh, I didn't realize they threaded right into the plastic. Okay. So I know my fat fingers are all in the way here, but we're just threading this back in. And like I said, these are like unnecessarily long. The solder, solder's like, here in the US they call it solder. Like, I know it's solder, but guys act like you're an idiot if you actually say that here in the States. All right, hopefully this tightens up. Before we bottom out. Feels like we are. Fantastic. Okay, that actually did tighten up. Like, honestly, with this kind of setup, seriously, like that bolt is all we need to hold this. I mean, holy crap. That's already like firmly mounted on there. But we'll try to get the other ones in. I gotta take my shirt off. I'm hot. Well, not my shirt, my coat. All right, now let me move this over here and we'll see what we're looking at. It looks like all of them should be shorter. And I think we can actually use these 12 mil ones too, because even that 15 mil, there is just a ton of threads in there. So for this next outside one, we're going to use one of these 12 mil bolts. And unfortunately, we only have 2 of them, because I think I would use them for everything if I could. We'll put the other 15 inside here. And I apologize, I know this is a little tough to see. We'll put the other 15 mil in here. Honestly, let's put a 12 in the opposite corner and see how it feels. I think that's plenty mounting this, honestly. I don't really see a need to have 4 of these in there. This has literally no pressure or anything on it ever. So again, I know you guys can't see this at all. I can barely fit my hands in along there. You can see we're the bottom corner here. We did the top corner inside, and then we're doing the bottom corner on the outside. And honestly, I think this is all I'm going to put in. I think this is more than sufficient for mounting this shroud. Well, this escalated quickly. Taking clothes off. Yeah. Does it? I mean, does it act as a structural support? I mean, that, honestly, that seems solid. That is freaking in there. And it looks like we're going to use the original bolts to mount the fan into this. So we'll go ahead and put these in, as much as I hate to. We'll go ahead and put them in. We don't want to half-ass this, right? So we'll put the other 15 inside here, if I can get it started. We'll use our little pliers here to hold this in place. That way nobody's complaining that we're going to have our extruder assembly shake itself apart. Full ass. Weird on this full ass. $15mm. Maybe these are, I don't know. I don't, honestly, if I'm being like full disclosure here, I don't know how to measure a bolt. Is it counting the full head, or is it just the threads? Because if you count like the actual complete length of this, they were 15mm. This one, I believe, this hole must have been stripped out. That's not wanting to thread in anymore. We might have an obstruction. All right, so that one's in there. And then we'll put this other 12 on the top, on the outside. We'll put this other bolt, since we can't concur on what the actual size of this bolt is. We'll put this mystery bolt on the outside. But I do like this. This shroud's designed nicely. This is going to be, with the exception of, like we talked earlier, the weird color of the fan. This is going to be a nice install overall. I think I'm going to take that inside bolt in. I don't like it not being threaded in the whole way. Or that bolt on the inside out. It's possible that during the original install or assembly of this printer that I stripped this hole out a little bit and just never really noticed. But it does keep the place where air flows a little bit cleaner because we don't have that bolt head sticking out, even if it would go the whole way in. But there you go. I mean, that is incredibly solidly mounted. So the next step is to... This is the little faceplate, and you can see I did this in 2 colors. This is a single piece, but all I did was kind of kept an eye on the print, and when it looked like it was no longer printing any of this initial layer, like I started with the orange because it's printed face down, as soon as it appeared that it was just printing these wall sections, I just kind of manually triggered a filament change in the printer and switched to the black, and then did the housing itself in the black. And easy. Shit, which way does this go? Airflow's this way, yeah. We want the label facing the extruder, correct? I'll confirm this. I'll confirm this up with everyone. Right, the little sticker here should be facing the extruder, because it does have an arrow, and it looks like airflow will be this way, from the fan to the inside, and that is how we want this to blow. So we just kind of nestle that in there. And I think we're going to have the wire come straight out the back like that. It's probably going to be the easiest to deal with, because then it will travel right back into our little wire path there without really having to secure it or anything. and it won't be dangling in the way or anything crazy. And then as far as I can tell, it looks like we just take the original 4 bolts that mounted this, and they'll go down through this whole assembly and thread right into that plastic. What, about 3 millimeters, 2.5 millimeters? And that should secure that quite nicely. If we can get them started. Depends on how it's plugged in. Yeah, we'll have to double check it. It's possible that it will be blowing air at us, and if that is the case, we'll switch it around then. And you don't want to over tighten these since they just thread into the printed part, because they will potentially strip out. All right. And next up is take a drink of your beer. Check that the cable fits. I think it will. Gustner's telling us to make sure that we don't have anything hitting on this side. And it seems to all clear. We have some of the chaos in the back here is interfering with stuff. I think it might actually be a problem. Why don't we just have it come out the bottom to be safe before we get too far along here? Maybe that probably is just safest, because then it becomes like a complete non-issue. So we'll have this come out the bottom. And we'll move this bolt up to the hole that's already threaded. Save ourselves a little frustration. And yeah, we will, Andre, we'll test. We'll go ahead and plug this in, and we can test the noise levels and stuff before we get too far along here. I think I have one of the super long power cables laying here. I can just bring it over to the table. And we'll go ahead and put a second corner in here for sake of partial completeness. And then before we button the wiring back up, we'll throw this together really quick. Plug it in, make sure nothing explodes, and that our airflow is in the correct direction. All right, so there it is. You see, it's a pretty clean install overall. The pieces are designed fairly well. Like I do like it. It definitely sticks out a little bit, but matching the colors I think makes a big difference. It kind of looks factory, and it's fairly sleek overall. Since obviously if you have an Mk2, you can get a pretty clean print on these pieces, so not too bad. Yeah, I got this long ass cable here. All right, so we'll plug this in. Power it up. Nothing exploded. And we'll set this to preheat for PLA. And it should only take a second for the extruder to get over 50 degrees, and it'll kick the fan on. And we'll make sure it works okay. Is this, Aussie, is this for quietness? Yeah. Switching the wires won't work. Oh, holy crap, is that ever quiet? The fan is on. I didn't even realize it came on. And yet it is blowing the correct direction. Holy hell, is that ever quiet? Let's go ahead and do our test here. We were at 70 decibels before, right? We're at 50 decibels now. That dropped the noise output of that fan by 20 decibels. That's impressive. Yeah, that's kind of crazy, guys. That is kind of crazy. And we have pretty good airflow out the other side, too. You can see just me talking bumps it up to about 70. Even with the microphone like touching the fan, it's only at what, 60? That's kind of crazy. I'm surprised it made that much of a difference. I see why people get so excited about this modification. Wow, that's quiet. That is really quiet. Yeah, 50 versus 70, basically. Because we were, what, at about 51 versus about 68? I don't know much about decibel levels, but is that what that is equivalent to, Andre? That's kind of crazy. You don't think you don't think the meter can read us? Everybody shut up. We're trying to take a reading. That's impressive. Holy hell. I can't believe that's that quiet. Because this is, I think between the cork, if anybody hadn't seen, if there's anybody that's new here, which there might be because we're streaming later than normal, I do have a piece of cork insulating my bed, and I do have the printed bearing holders for the linear bearings underneath. And between those, the noise levels on the default linear bearings that came with the original kits, not the S's. They have different bearings that ship with them now that I haven't seen personally. I'm okay with the noise level of the Y-axis. So really the only noisy part of this machine anymore is that little 30 mil fan, because this sucker like screams. That's kind of crazy. It does feel like there's a little less airflow. Ten times. Is that how the decibels work? It's 10 times louder for every 10 decibels. That's kind of crazy. It does feel like there's a little more airflow. Or a little less, I'm sorry. But wow, what a difference. What a difference. That's crazy. Does the Mk2 have those better drivers? What do you mean? What better drivers are you speaking of? The cooling factor seems lower. It's definitely creeping down a lot slower than it does with the 30 mil fan. Is that a power glove? That is a power glove, sir. And it's complete. Like, all the stuff isn't up there. But yeah, it works. I, like, refurbished it, and it's in perfect condition and works perfectly. It works as well as that piece of shit controller ever did. Yeah, this is definitely cooling down more slowly. And like I said, I don't know if that's an issue. I don't really know how much cooling the E3D V6 needs for the heat break to function properly. But I don't know. I guess I don't know how you'd really test that. The miniatures paintbrush. Oh, hey, man, what's up? Hopefully you can meet up at Neverland 3G. You and the rest of the world, man, you're looking to get an affordable 3D printer with select upgrades. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos I did on the ANET A8. That is a $160 printer that I've been pleasantly surprised with. It actually printed... Oh, that one's actually still... I didn't realize that was still attached to the build plate. PEI, guys. How much do you love PEI? That just popped right off of there. This is a print that came off the ANET A8. I printed out a blue one, too. But you can see, like, the faces of these rockets is pretty fantastic coming off of that printer. And this is with like literally $0 invested in upgrades. That's off a $160 printer. Like, look at the text that's inlaid in the fins and stuff. It looks pretty damn good for that weird ass extruder it has on there. The thing prints nice. Even the tip printed fairly cleanly, considering, with the kind of okay-ish part cooling fan it has on there. That's a really clean print for a printer that cheap. The only real thing that I've added to that was I had that extra sheet of PEI. You can kind of see it back there because the heat bed is like that weird yellow color that PEI is, instead of just being bare aluminum. But that's the only real upgrade I've done to that. The rest of it was just kind of making sure everything was assembled correctly, and the axes were perpendicular and all that crap. But I don't know what your budget is. If you're at the bottom end of the budget spectrum, I think that's probably not a bad printer to start with. But yeah, like Imagination said, I think the A6 is an objectively better printer. I haven't had one yet, but it's basically like the successor to that, and it has a slightly more rigid frame and a slightly better designed X-axis. But like I said, if you're really pinching pennies, that thing was $162 delivered. So yeah, not a bad buy. But with any printer, I would probably join one of the Facebook groups for any prospective purchases you're trying to make, and kind of feel out what problems people have with them. All right, we're just about to fall below 50 degrees here. Now, I don't know, is anyone aware of anyone that's had any problems with the actual cooling of the Noctua fan on here? Because I could potentially see, like, if you do have some problems, I could see maybe, as pretty as it looks, I could see potentially taking this outer shroud off and just bolting the fan straight to that inner adapter to take this grate off. Because that could be, it's restricting airflow a tiny little bit, I'd imagine. But I'm not sure. Don't offer people discounts. Well, I'm sure they don't want you, like, if you guys see in the description, I do have a, what do they call that? An affiliate link with GearBest now. And I know most of those groups, they don't really like you, like, spamming your affiliate link or anything like that. Board Gamer says, I have heard of people getting jams after installing that. Like, see, I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Hopefully, because I've had almost literally zero problems with the E3D V6 at this point. So I'm hoping this doesn't introduce any, like, potential failures. Because it's just like the IGUS bushings that I originally had in the Y-axis. They just wore a little prematurely. Earl said he's seen that too. Yeah, hopefully nothing happens. I'll definitely let everyone know. Because there are, like I said, 40 mil fans are really common. So there's probably some other fans out there that might have a little bit higher of, like, a little more airflow, that are still more, like, still quieter than this thing. Because this is a ball bearing fan, but damn, is this thing loud. Holy crap. There might even have been some quieter 30 mil fans. But no, I'll let everyone know if anything does happen with this, as far as introducing failures or jams or anything. I'll do a follow-up video on it. I did just add another variable to the problems you said you were having. It's true. There's always a possible noob sauce being sprinkled on too heavy. That is always a potential problem. Because I've had, you guys don't even know how many people have messaged me privately about various problems and I've helped them with, and like not giving anybody a hard time, but 60% of them are just basic oversights that people were making. They're kind of doing something stupid, not really realizing it. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case with something like this. All right, so we'll go ahead now. Now that we know that's okay, and we'll go ahead and put these other 2 bolts in and button this thing up and be done with her. Again, I think 4 bolts for a fan like this is like 100% overkill. Are these the same length? Yeah, they are. Okay. These are the original bolts. Total overkill for a fan like this. But we'll put them in here. Maybe they'll increase performance, right? I think all we're really doing is adding... I mean, it's a trivial amount, but we're just adding a little bit more mass to the extruder assembly. All right, so we're finished up on that front. So basically we have the cabling left to tend to. And as I said, I'll get this a little bit closer and we'll adjust the focus. I think it's the other camera here. Does it look about right? Okay, so we have our cable coming off the bottom here. And we're just going to bring it up. And we're going in that channel. I know my finger's in the way. We're going in that channel, but we're actually going to take advantage of this other thicker wire that comes in here. And we'll put our fan wire behind that. And it was in there before. And that thicker wire actually helps hold that back in there. I know it's a little tough to see, but we actually have this thicker 4-wire bundle to that front extruder stepper. This one here. Actually kind of like trapping that in there, which I think is probably the way to go. And we'll move it over here to the edge. And it's a little tough to tell what's up over here because we have the chaos in the back there with all these wires hanging loose, kind of getting in the way. So let's tend to that next. I'm going to go ahead and unplug this. We saw what we needed to see with the power. See, our length is actually about right. That's what she said. So we're just going to, like, we have this this connector down here. Make sure it's not falling apart. Nest it back in there like it's supposed to be. Group all this stuff back up nice. We will have to double this over on itself just a tiny little bit, but that's no big deal. Trapping it up here in the cable chain, that is. And we'll put our links back on. And if anybody's wondering about this cable chain, I did a video on it like a long time ago. If you just search through my videos, like cable chain, it'll come up. This has been on here for a long time now, and I've never had any problems with it. Especially on the x-axis here. The x-axis one I think is fantastic. The heat bed one still has a couple little issues that I never went back and addressed, but it's been okay. I keep bumping the camera. I'm sorry. All right, that's all good. So we got that assembled back. We'll clip it back into place here. This is PLA, so it's not the most flexible, but it will go. So there we go. We'll make sure that's seated. And then I'm going to turn this a little bit so I can get these wires back under control. because we did have a zip tie. We're gonna have to replace that. Got these nice little zip ties that came with the A8. I have a couple of those left over, so I'm gonna use those. Just because they're nice and small. They're actually really easy to work with and fit in tight places like this. So I'm just going to zip tie this back to the post. And like if you haven't done this cable chain upgrade, obviously you're going to have to kind of sort your own problem out with your cable management and just kind of basically put it back how it was, because nothing really changed. We just had to undo all that to get access to those wires that we needed. And we're basically just going to be putting everything back together. And oh, I see, a long time ago I cut the zip tie and never took it out. You guys can't see it. It's been cut forever. But I never actually pulled it out. Which is kind of funny. But that should be it. And now that we have that all cleaned up, we can move this over and make sure we don't have anything. I can see our thermistor wires actually hitting. Which this freaking thing, this has been a problem for a while now too, actually. And these wires are so stiff. I guess I will have to zip tie them. We'll have to feed this actually back down through where that other zip tie had been cut. If I can feed it through. Go in there, you bastard. How in the... do you guys see that? How in the hell did that come up there? What kind of contortions? I can't see. I gotta move this a second. I can't see anything. I can't see chat either. I'm sorry. Your Pendaprobe cable broke? Oh, that sucks. The ones I'm always worried about breaking are these blue ones because they're really stiff. And it just always freaks me out. I'm always afraid that they're going to snap. So I try not to flex them if I can avoid it. This freaking thing is not going to get down in there. You bastard. So ungrateful, printer. I'm doing upgrades to you. Oh, that's actually the wrong slot. Okay, I'm an idiot. Stick it in the wrong hole. Sometimes you will get rejected, eh? There we go. There it went down through. Okay, so I don't know if you can see. I know my hands are like all kinds of in the way here. But that zip tie goes down through there. And then there's a channel that goes up the other side. And you can use that to kind of bunch those wires, like that big pair of blue wires. It's I'm pretty sure that's the thermistor and the heater that go down through the bottom there. And again, I can't see. I'm on the wrong side. All right. I can't see shit. I can't see a damn thing. I got it in, but it's just the tip. All right, there we go. And I'm not going to make that crazy tight or anything. It's just enough enough pressure on there to keep these wires kind of under control. And that should be enough. It's still touching a tiny little bit, but I don't think it's enough to cause a problem. I think they touched it before, honestly. But they touch just before the micro switch activates. But I don't think it's a problem. So we'll leave that go. Like I said, I really don't like messing with them because I've seen so many people break them. There we go. That should be good. And you can see our... Wait, I guess you can't see it, but you have to take my word for it. The fan shroud doesn't interfere with anything as far as the ZX or the X-axis moving. So that is... I'm trying to cut these without cutting any wires. That is mission accomplished, fellows. Ladies and gentlemen, I should say. So there it is. That is the Noctua 40 millimeter fan replacement upgrade extravaganza. And like I said, it's not bad looking at all. I think it's a nice looking little install there. I think the guy that designed the shroud and stuff did a really nice job. It's very sleek. It looks professional. I think if you not mention it to anybody, they would just assume that it's supposed to be that way. Like this is a factory piece of hardware. But no, it looks good from all angles too. Even from the back, it's a pretty clean install. The only thing that's, a little bit questionable, I don't think it's a big deal though, is having the wire run along the outside, but it's captured nice in our little channel there and goes up into our cable chain. Very good. I guess we can plug it in again here and make sure it still works. Cuts heater wire. That's why I said I started to say, I forget what I was going to say, but basically that we were finished. And I was like, maybe I should wait a second. I just can't get over how quiet that is. Holy crap. Holy moly. Yeah, I do like, thanks for that, Pook. I do like the two color. And like I said, I didn't have to slice that in a special way. I just kind of kept an eye on the print because it's not a very long print. And as soon as I saw that it was actually working on the walls, I just manually, you can go into, I don't think I can do it without a print on here, but you can actually manually cue a filament change. And it's not necessarily for changing colors. Like sometimes if you notice you're going to run out of filament, you can go ahead and switch the rolls before it actually happens. That's crazy. That came on and it's almost inaudible. 51 decibels. That's like... That's only like 4.5 decibels over the ambient volume level down here with like my computer fan and stuff on. Awesome. I knew based on what everyone had said that had done this upgrade that I've seen that it was quieter, but I was not expecting it to be that much quieter. That's kind of crazy. Because the A8 uses a 40 mil cooling fan by default, so it's noisier than this, but it's not as noisy as the 30 millimeter fan is on this. And like I said, if I do end up having any problems, I'll let everybody know. I'll do an update to this video. Because I would expect, hopefully, maybe I'll get it done this weekend. I want to edit this stream down and hopefully turn this into a 10-minute or hopefully less than 10 minutes. and just have this like a really short edited step-by-step guide on how we did this exactly, because like I said, there might be some written guides, but I did a search here on YouTube and there really wasn't too much about how to do this. And I'm sure a lot of guys just assume that it's straightforward enough that people don't really need a guide, but that's not how things work. Like, it could be, there's probably a guide on how to turn this thing on. Yeah, the problem now is I'll be like worried that it's not on. It's like the first time I fired it up, I was waiting for it to come on, and I looked and I was like, well, that's 110 degrees already. Surely that's on. And I was like, oh, hell, it's already running. But yeah, it is weird. It'd be like if your lover's voice changed. It's kind of like that same thing. Like, I'm so used to that it's going to be weird now. Would I like to test the cooling factor? We could. We should have done a baseline, honestly. Because I know you said it took you, what, like 7 minutes and 40 seconds to go from, was it like 200 to 50? But I don't know. I would assume my machine was similar to that. Or, I mean, I'm sure our machines were similar before the change, but we probably should have done a baseline beforehand. I didn't really think about it. Because we even heated the machine up and then let it cool down. So we basically did like 80% of the work. We just didn't time it. Turin Carns, am I to assume you make 3D tanks? Would I be reading into your name too much? I know that's a little off topic. Andre said you have made a baseline. Yeah, like I said, you've made a baseline for your printer, and it could be the same. Oh, you got the same for multiple machines, or someone else got the same numbers. We can go ahead and let it preheat here, because I'm probably going to be sitting here talking for more than 7 minutes. Was it 200 degrees that you heated it up to? I guess instead of doing a preheat, we'll actually just set the extruder temp. $200 degrees, Andre? 200 degrees incoming. All right, and I'll get my cell phone, and we'll time this. Was it 200 to 50? I'll just have this ready here. Timer. All right, we'll throw all this shit away. But no, that wasn't too bad. I wasn't expecting that to be a very difficult installation. But yeah, that was pretty effortless. That's true. Ambient temp will have a pretty significant effect. So there we're at 200. So I'll go in here. That's why I said we should have done our own baseline, because my basement's fairly cool. Setting to 0 now. And we'll try to get that. We've done this before. We did something similar before. I'll try to get that to where everybody can see it. There's too much reflection. Too much reflect action here. Damn it. Damn it. I can't find like a happy medium here. All right, when it gets a little closer, we'll switch to that and see what's up with it. Oh, so we're actually waiting until it hits 50 degrees, because I think the fan shuts off at 50. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Oh, that's like glary as all hell now. It looked all right there for a second. Bunch of shit. There we go. Don't need the hours. You guys, you need what I say you need. How about that? After printing big prints, it's great how fast small prints are. Yeah, small prints are the shit. Small prints, that's why, like, even though it was kind of a stupid little item, like, prints like this are really satisfying, because you just, like, you design it, print it, and then you have it, like, very, very quickly. At least you hope not. Yeah, hopefully we don't need that. This, if anybody pulls the files up on Thingiverse too, this also had like a little shroud that kind of does look nice on there, because you can basically make it all like matchy, and it's out of the same orange, and you can put this over the park cooling fan, but nah, I don't know. I don't see the point, honestly. Your friend wants custom coasters. They wouldn't be hard to do. And they are. It's funny I'm not using mine now. I was using it. Because this has felt on it, so it's not as bad. But my desk, oh God. Like I said, I drink iced coffee like every morning. And it's kind of damp down here. Especially like it's been raining constantly here on the East Coast. And, man, the glass just sweats like crazy, and it's so annoying. 3D print myself a tankard. I did see there's quite a few filaments on the market now that are food safe, which is kind of cool. Tinkercad would make it fast. Yeah, Tinkercad's fast if you're doing, like, simple things. Hot coffee makes you run to the bathroom. Well, iced coffee isn't going to be any different. It's mostly the caffeine that's the diuretic. So it won't save you from that, unfortunately. But, yeah, I love drinking iced coffee. I started with, like, the McDonald's iced coffees, and that's basically like liquid sugar. So I started making my own. But no, I didn't get... I'm glad I got that video done today, but I didn't get a lot of the other stuff that I wanted to get done. Stuff just takes like so much longer. And then it kind of bummed me out. I really wanted to pull that video down and re-render it, because I used kind of like part of the slider today, and then Vegas just like butchered that footage for some reason. It was really like blurry. Kind of made me angry. Gusner's right. Even those food safe filaments, I think a lot of people misunderstand why a lot of 3D printed items, goddamn, why a lot of 3D printed items aren't suitable for food or sex toys or any number of other things. And it's not actually because of the filament itself. It's because there's a lot of cavities and little areas where bacteria can get in those things, and it's really hard to clean them. Not to argue, but if you think every food plastic distributed in the U.S. is safe, you're from Borneo. Yeah, I totally agree. It's just like, I'd like to do a video at some point about the actual safety of a lot of filaments, because there is so much misinformation out there. And I've actually seen, I'm not naming names, but I've seen people that should know better basically say verbatim that there's never been any studies done, and there have been studies done. And those studies aren't what people say about 3D printing. I think a lot of people just love 3D printing, so they want to have it be ways that it's not. It's like a terrible way of saying that, but you know what I mean. People get their little pet things that they love, and they don't want to hear anything bad about it. And there's a little bit of that going on with 3D printing and like the safety of filaments and fumes and the toxicity of certain things. And I'd like to do a video about it because I feel like, I don't know, it's like anything where there's a lot of misinformation. I feel like I have like some obligation to clear the air a little bit and get the right information out there, but I know when I do that video, there's going to be a lot of backlash. But it is what it is, I guess. Oh, vaping. Yeah. You want to piss some people off. Talk about some of the negative health side effects of vaping, or anything for that matter. All right, so you see we're getting close here. We're at about 53 degrees and about 7 minutes and some change. So it looks like we're going to be right at basically the number you said, probably a little bit under. No, probably like dead on, actually. $7 minutes and 28 seconds to 50 degrees. So we're a hair under. I think you said 740, but that's pretty damn close. And what did you say the baseline is for the 30 mil fan? Because that's not too bad. That's actually longer than I would have expected that to be. I guess when you're not actually sitting here waiting for it to cool down, it doesn't seem like it's 7 minutes and some change, but yeah, that's not too bad. I don't feel like doing it right now, but I'll get the burps. I don't feel like doing it right now, but at some point I'd like to maybe take the fan, that little shroud grill cover off and see if it makes any difference for that time. Cornbread Kid, or Corn Binder Kid, what's wrong with vaping and 3D printing? I'm not going to comment on vaping. That's not my expertise at all. But 3D printing, the filaments are somewhat hazardous. Particularly, like, I'm not going to comment on too much. Like I said, I'll do a video about it at some point. ABS. Do some reading on ABS. ABS is not really that safe. If you're printing with ABS, you should be in a ventilated area. There are a lot of things that are released, but one of the primary things that's released when you print with ABS is polystyrene, and they're like complex compounds that are known carcinogens. And one of the biggest problems is that, like, filaments like ABS, you're printing at a much higher nozzle temperature, and the higher the nozzle temperature, the more particulate you're putting into the air. I mean, that's what you actually smell, is some of that particulate. And some of what you're smelling or breathing in when you smell those things are styrene compounds, and they're known carcinogens. And people argue about it. I've had people like argue about it the moment I started talking about it, and it's like, this isn't like opinion. This is science. There have been studies done on this. Yeah, ABS equals always bad shit. I love my Legos, but I'm not melting them and breathing the fumes. And I don't know. It's like anything that's a known carcinogen. It's not necessarily the case that you're going to get cancer if you use it, but it's not necessarily a good thing to be exposing yourself to. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. And like I said, as soon as you start talking about it, there's feelings that get hurt, and people get butthurt because they love 3D printing and they don't want anything bad to be associated with it. But it is what it is. I said something about sex toys earlier. I don't own a fleshlight. I can't afford the cost. But I heard they're fantastic. He said something about sex toys earlier, and it reminded me of a video, Cool Things Printed with 3D Printing. I know exactly the video you're talking about, Keeper. The thumbnail has like the big black penis on it. I know exactly the video you're talking about. Cool things printed with 3D printing. Same thing with global warming. Oh God, I'm not. I need to start a secondary channel because any of you guys like, I'm an overly opinionated asshole, and I think Earl's one of the only guys present that I've really talked about that much with. I try to keep it tame on the channel, but I am a super overly opinionated asshole. And I kind of would love to start like a second channel that's like nothing but political talk. Because I have opinions, but I'm not going to share them now. All right, my opinion of this is that I'm pretty happy with things. That was pretty painless as things go around here. 3D printing satire channel. What improvements are you hoping to get with this fan upgrade? It's 100% a sound thing. It's a noise level issue. And I'm like okay with the noise output of this as it was, but I bought that fan like a long time ago to basically to do a video on it. And at the time when I bought that fan, it's when I was still kind of frustrated with how noisy the Y-axis was, so I was hoping that was going to be a little bit quieter. And it freaking is. I don't know if you were here for the actual tests. I have a little decibel meter here, like a really cheap one. I think this was like $20 on Amazon. And the original fan was at 70 decibels, and this replacement fan is at 50. And according to someone who knows better than I do, that's basically 100 times quieter. We could do a Bad Boys print shit feed. That would be fun. It's like we need to do, like a lot of those channels, they don't even use their face. They just use like an avatar on the screen. I need to do that so people can't trace it back to here. Because when you talk politics, it doesn't matter what your opinion is. It's going to piss some people off. The A-net, somebody asked about the A-net again, Keeper. The A-net's fantastic, honestly. I haven't printed a whole lot with it. But this is one of the prints. I think I printed this the other day. And this came off the A-net. And this thing is like freaking perfect. Like, honestly. Like I've said before, if this came off the Mk2, I would be absolutely 100% satisfied with it. I mean, the finish on that is just like fantastic. I mean, this is just regular PLA. Nothing too difficult. And this is the eSun PLA Plus, which prints fantastically. So that might have something to do with it. But and then this was actually the first one I printed. And it's just like fantastic. Like the first layers that it lays down are just like great. And these were both printed. I did put the spare sheet that came with my Mk2. I put the spare sheet of PEI on the A8. And it really made that thing painless to print PLA on. Because dealing with tape, it's not that bad, but man, I don't like it. The blue painter's tape, it's okay, but it's not for me. Since I started with PEI, it's like I'm pretty much spoiled. I'm pretty much spoiled in general with the Mk2, having it as my first printer. But man, it makes me. I've always been kind of an Mk2 fanboy, but it makes me wonder if I might not have been better off starting with something like the A8. Hell, I could have bought like 5 of them for the price of the Prusa. You realize how popular a goof show in 3D printing would be. Yeah, it would be fun to do if nothing else. But there would probably be an audience for that. I'm going to say your name right on stream for the first time ever. Rob of Riven. I told you that was a good 3D printer, or a good printer. God, I can't even read your sentence. I got your name right, nothing else. But no, it is a good printer. I thought it was kind of funny. I've had several Chinese companies contact me now, and I thought they were contacting me to send me an A8 to review, and they're just like bugging me to buy one from them. It's like, I'm good. I think if I buy one, I'm going to get one from GearBest. Corn, and you would regret all 5 of them. I don't think I would, man. It's possible that I just got like a great kit and other people are getting like hardware that's not as good or something like that, but man, I've been happy with it, honestly. I know some people have said they had problems with the power supplies in them and stuff like that, but that's hit or miss. I've talked about it briefly before. I used to like repair arcade games and stuff for my dad, and we went through hundreds of super cheap Chinese power supplies, and it's just one of those things. Like even I've had expensive power supplies in my computer go bad, like almost immediately. So that's just kind of hit or miss. And there doesn't seem to be any problem with that one. I've been monitoring it. It doesn't overheat or anything. So where did I order my E3D from? The E3D what? I did. What are you talking about? The E3D Lite? It's actually sitting over on my desk. I got that from extruder. It's a U.S. supplier of E3D stuff. You didn't. You didn't notice the 120/220 switch. Yeah, you got to notice that. That's kind of important. Corn binder. Well, I know people say that, but right here is my cheap Chinese cheap ass Chinese printer that prints fantastically. The frame is nice and stable. I mean, I know the Prusa is a good machine, but man, this is not the most rigid frame in the world. I don't know if that's in focus or not. This thing is I would say it is more rigid than the A8, but not by an amount that's impressive. This is, I guess it's hard to see there, but if you can see like the movement between the extruder and the build plate, this thing is not overly rigid by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm sure some of you might have seen the video when I tried to get this thing perpendicular. I don't know. The A8 was much easier to get perpendicular than the Mk2 was. And it's just based on the way they designed the frame and stuff. There's really no movement in the rear part of the y-axis. Like, it kind of just is a fixed length, so it removes those pair of corners in the back from the equation, and it makes it a lot easier to square it up. The light. Oh no, the light is here. Yeah, the light actually came today. It was in the mail this afternoon. They thought they had sent me a light earlier. Was it earlier this week or at the end of last week? But they had actually just sent me the heatsink. But no, I was messing with it a little bit. It's very similar to the V6. The only difference is, and I wasn't really aware of this, and y'all are going to learn right now if you didn't know before. It's very similar. I think the heat block is a tiny bit smaller. And you can see the thermistor and the heater just kind of slide in there. And they're secured with 2 screws in the bottom. And of course your nozzle goes in the big hole. But the only difference is, with the V6, this is all metal. And it's a little bit thicker here. And you see the PTFE liner can go the whole way through this one. And this actually goes the whole way down through the heat block. And if you can imagine them screwed together, the PTFE liner actually contacts the nozzle in the light. And it just limits the maximum temperature of this thing a little bit. But otherwise, it's an E3D V6. So I'm pretty pumped. And this is from E3D, but actually extruder sent me this. I just kind of contacted them and asked if they'd send me one to try out, because my plan was to put one of these on the A-net, because I was actually expecting the A-net to print like shit, honestly. So I was like, well, I'll get one of these ready so I have it and I can go ahead and upgrade the nozzle, or the the extruder at some point, or the Hotend. God, words are hard. But this thing, it's been printing fantastically. But you see, otherwise, this looks just like an E3D V6. And it's got the little clippy fan thing for the shroud. And then you see, like, it comes with a 30 mil fan. And it's actually the exact same fan the other one came with. They're actually exactly the same. Same model numbers and everything. These leads aren't twisted. I don't know if that doesn't make any difference, but I wonder who twisted them. I wonder if they just used to make them that way and they don't anymore, or what the deal is. So I imagine this thing's pretty noisy. But no, it's a nice little assembly. It is manufactured well. I do like it. But the only thing, like I said, the PTFE liner actually comes down and contacts the nozzle. It's the only difference. And in the E3D, it's actually metal. I think that the PTFE liner only goes to about there in the all-metal one, so it allows you to get your heat block a whole lot hotter before you risk damaging your PTFE liner. So it's just crazy to me that little difference, because there might be some other like minor differences, but it's kind of crazy that the price difference is so significant between the light and the regular one. This one, and you get all this stuff. You get like the whole kit. You get the thermistor, the heater, the wiring, the fan. They even throw a sock in with all the new ones. So you have the little sock for your heat block, which is kind of cool because they do work well. It does help, especially if you do a PID tuning with sock on. It really helps stabilize your temperatures quite a bit, and it keeps all that schmutz from getting all over there. If you happen to have some filament come up and touch this, it really does help with that stuff. But it's just kind of crazy to me that I think a regular E3D V6 is like $70 or something like that, somewhere in that region. And this one's $24.95, which is kind of crazy. This seems like a fantastic deal if you're not going to be printing with any like super high temperature filaments. That is one difference. Pook, you are right. We can take one more look at this. I don't have a V6 here to tear apart. But one difference is that Pook pointed out. You have obviously your heat block and your nozzle here. On the V6, this part here is actually a separate stainless. I think it's stainless, and it actually is separate, and it screws up into the heatsink and down into the heat block, and it actually is what separates the PTFE liner from the nozzle and stuff. So that's the big difference, but still, it just surprises me that those little differences make so much difference in price. Because if you're like me, like the A-net, it's pretty much only ever going to be printing PLA. So something like this is fantastic. Like, it's super cheap. It's going to perform extremely well because if you're just printing PLA, it's essentially identical to the V6. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. But which makes me sad. I really love the V6. I think it's a fantastic Hotend, but man, they are not cheap. I can see why so many people go with the clones. You say that, it makes me very curious. Most of the super cheap ones are basically these lights where they're advertised, and I've seen a couple people go through that experience where they're advertised as an all-metal Hotend, and you actually get one of these where the PTFE liner goes the whole way to the nozzle. And it's like, it is all metal, except for the parts that aren't. But I don't know. You might luck out. I haven't seen too many of the clones, so. But no, it's nice. I think it's nice. I'm really looking forward. It kind of makes me sad to tear the A8 apart at some point here because it does print so well as is. But it's gonna be cool to see how this thing performs with the light in it. I'm kind of thinking. I don't know. It might be the case that I leave the A8 alone and just don't mess with it, and maybe try putting this thing on the Trinus. Because modding the Trinus isn't like a real big thing. I know there's people that do it, but That seems kind of interesting to me. If they would ever, like, I don't, it's like on Twitter. If anybody follows me on Twitter, I talked about it a little bit. I kind of felt bad, but man, Kodama's customer support is. I reached out to them to try to get some of the parts, or to at least talk to somebody about what I might need to get this Trinus working 100%, because I did get a print off of it. I can show you guys that. I did, let me move this back here like an idiot. I have this camera all over the place. I did cut that piece of glass the other day for the Trinus. And I know it's a little dark, but you can see that the glass is on there. It's kind of tough to get positions for the clips to hold that glass on and get them in places where they don't actually interfere with the print head assembly, because that thing moves a lot really close to the build plate, and it pinches those clips, and it scared me a couple times. I thought I broke something. But I did get it working, and I did finally get a print off of it. It was really hard to get the Z height adjusted on that thing. Holy crap. It took a while. But I did get a print off of it, but it looks funny. Some of you are going to cringe. I printed a spinner body just because it was like a small print that fit on the bed. And I sliced it, and this file is actually smooth, but it's got like this weird like ribbing effect over the whole print. It's a really clean print overall. It is this stupid blue filament that I've complained about before that has this weird, it looks oily. But it has this weird like vertical lines on it, which is kind of odd. And I don't think that's like a problem with the printer. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But I did finally get a print off of it, which is kind of exciting. It's not just sitting there completely useless. But after printing this, like I'm kind of curious whether it's the slicer, because it uses like its own proprietary slicer. Watching you guys on here, you guys are making me want to make videos. Do it, man. Again, that's something I get a lot of questions about, equipment and how to go about things and stuff. And I've really been batting the idea around of doing a second channel that's entirely dedicated to like the endeavor of streaming and stuff, because it is, for me, it wasn't that difficult because I've always kind of been like a computer nerd, and I had done some like kind of half-ass podcasts with some friends and stuff in the past. But it is kind of an undertaking. And I've been kind of batting the idea around because a lot of people ask me questions, and it would be nice to just have videos to direct people to that kind of just go over the basics of like setting up the software and like the minimum amounts of equipment and stuff you need. William, it's okay. I'm getting tired of seeing fidget toys. I understand. I totally understand. Like for me, like I have my little spinner that I carry. I do use it a good bit. And I do make spinners on a regular basis because I sell them. But yeah, as far as like actually seeing content on them, like I'm with a lot of you guys. As soon as I see like videos about them, I'm just kind of like, oh my god. I mean, I thought, like personally, I think my coaster video is kind of boring, but at least it's not spinners, right? This one doesn't even have bearings in it. I'm sitting here spinning it. It has nothing in it. And it's still kind of fun to spin. But it's gone. No more spinner talk. No point me streaming unless peeps just want to see my test prints printing. Yeah, I haven't done that yet. I've had people ask me why I don't like stream prints printing. And it's like, because I don't watch prints printing. I've watched my own prints printing, but even I'm over that. Yeah, Pook, it is really weird. That's what I mean. It's like, it's so consistent. And I don't think it's the printer. Like everything mechanically on the printer seems to work fantastically because that thing's built like a tank. But, yeah, like I was saying, I don't want to talk bad about Kodama because I do eventually want to get in contact with them. And I don't want them to be like, hey, we saw you talking shit about us. But man, their customer service is backed up bad. I thought I was a little frustrated just waiting as long as I have, which has only been like a week and a half or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. And then I got on their Facebook group, and there's people that have had tickets open in their support system since like February. And I was like, shit, I better shut up. I could have put a bearing in my in my coaster, 1 million views. It would be kind of fun to like sit here and spin my glass. But no, it is one of the things I won't talk about spinners anymore, but if any of you guys have 3D printers and you're not printing fidget spinners and selling them, you're doing it wrong because it's such easy money. I've mentioned it I think once or twice on some of the other streams, but I've been printing fidget spinners on the A8, and I've been setting all the money that I make from those spinners aside, and I'm going to have the A8 buy an A6. It's going to buy its big brother. It's like a 3D printing kind of Schindler's List setup. The A8 is going to rescue an A6 from China, all on its own, selling spinners. Fidget spinners are available 5. Yeah, that's what I thought, man. It's like the convenience stores in my area and Walmart and everything has started selling like really cheap ones. And I'm still selling like the ones that I make for notably more than that. And I'm still selling like as many as I can make. But plus it's I make them to order. So like people want custom colors, or like they want multiple layers with different colors and like all that stuff. There is a massive novelty to getting something custom. Even look at all the custom stuff that exists in the world. It's like you could buy something that's essentially identical, but I ordered it custom, so I paid double for it. It's true of like so many things. A lot of people in Hawaii. Well, it's like me. I live in a small town. There are people in my town that are hearing about them, but then there's tons of people like just things you don't think of. Like my grandmother goes to bingo, right? She's like 70. She goes to bingo. I sent her to bingo with like a handful of them the other day, and she sold them all like immediately because they don't know about them. Like obviously, any 12-year-old is going to know all about spinners. They're going to be like little spinner aficionados, but there's still little pockets of people that are completely unaware. You saw Color Fab, stole your idea. That's not my idea, man. But I will be awaiting my royalty check. Yeah, Keeper, you're totally right. Like people will pay inexplicably large amounts of money just because something is quote unquote custom. Like my dad's into cars. Like he's like a lot of car guys. They will customize a piece of shit Winnebago and have more money in it than like an actual sports car. And they love it. They absolutely love it. Like I remember one of his favorite cars was what was that? A Vega. He put tons of money in a Vega and freaking loved it. And for the amount of money he had invested in that custom car, he could have bought something significantly better. Fidget spinner wars. I have wanted to make some like not so safe spinners. I saw a couple people did them with like razor blades and stuff, but you were late coming to them. That's what I was talking to a friend about it the other day, and he was like, "Man, do you see these spinner things?" I was like, "Yes." Come talk to the 3D printing community about it. Like they've been inducing nausea in people for like a while now. But it's kind of funny. It's just kind of funny how fads in general like hit certain demographics and crowds at certain points, and it's like much longer for it to reach like other places. Your cat likes watching your spinner. My daughter likes them. I still haven't made her one. I feel guilty. I need to make my daughter a little spinner. But yeah, like even in the small town like I'm in, the schools have started banning them and stuff. So they're probably going to see a resurgence in popularity as they get banned in schools, because as soon as you say kids can't have something, they're going to want even more of them. But yeah, they'll eventually die out. It's like anything. They're just like Pogs and Gigapets and all kinds of things. I remember it wasn't that long ago that my sisters were into like slap bracelets and all kinds of dumb shit. You've seen people use, people use air compressors too. I was using my my airbrush to spin them. And yeah, I've seen people have relatively serious injuries from using air compressors to spin those things up, because they're not designed to do that. Even the injection molded ones, like they're relatively cheap plastics and stuff. And I think it's kind of funny that I've seen a lot of people that sell them now advertise them as like, these aren't those 3D printed junkers. It's like, yeah, they're the injection molded junkers. It's like they're not better, they're just like different. Yeah, I'll give you that, Keeper. Pogs were awesome. I remember when Pogs were cool. You made an asymmetric spinner. I've seen some of those that are just basically not designed to spin, which is kind of funny. It's like a spinner counterculture. I guess that's not really what it is, but no, it's kind of funny. See, what we need to do here, guys, is find the next fad. We need to find the next like crack for kids, basically, and get on it now. We need to start stockpiling. Because it's like any of us here, if any of you guys that have 3D printers, if you'd have been stockpiling spinners before you knew they were a fad, or before they became a fad, you could be like, maybe not a millionaire, but you could be a thousandaire. Easily a thousandaire off the spinners. Because I know a couple guys in the community, the 3D printing community, I know there's a couple guys that are just like making absolute bank off of spinners. And I can only stand to make about 20 a week. That's about my limit. I can't muster the emotion, as a friend of mine would say. You need to make a D&D monster called the Spinner. That would be pretty funny. We had something started in the CIS department. I thought, like, oh man, I watch a lot of SJW videos. As soon as I saw SIS or CIS, I was like, man, where's he going with this? You made an attempt at a new currency. You should check out the Richard spinner. I can imagine. I actually made a dick spinner. I haven't shown anybody, but it was like one of the first things I did. I was like, man, because it just where don't dicks fit? Honestly, we're 2 hours in. We're like almost exactly 2 hours in, and it's like anybody, like if you guys don't watch, we do a community stream every Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard. It's like a bunch of the 3D printing YouTubers that just kind of hang out and drink beer and discuss various topics. The 2 hour mark is where basically the rules stop. Do I usually 3D print for selling? Not really. I've had a lot of people ask me that. Like I have a 3D hub, and I've had like a few orders off of 3D hubs that I've done for money, and I print like the occasional thing. Like I probably print 5 or 10 things a week to sell to people. Like not counting the spinners. Like I said, the spinners is like 20 a week is about my limit. I get sick of making them. But like printing for money, it's hard to talk about. Like we should do one of the community streams on that. It's like a difficult topic because it has to be like a self-driven thing. It's like you can't really have someone. Spinners are like an exception. Spinners are like, yeah, I can tell you, make spinners, sell them, you'll be happy. But as far as like selling other things, like you have to do the work. You have to find the little niche and serve it. And there's like a million of them out there. There's all kinds of things. Like for me, it was printing. I haven't talked about them in a long time, but I still make them. Is like little tokens for tabletop games and stuff. And like I just word of mouth. I print those out and sell them, customize them for people. Where do I get my bearings? Mainly Amazon, honestly. Because Amazon, you can get bearings relatively cheaply if you buy them in bulk. And then I just use acetone because it's what I happen to have on hand. I pop the shields off, soak them in acetone, like agitate them a little bit in the acetone, and then dry them out, and they spin pretty good. They're obviously never going to be as good as like the ceramic bearings, but that's just, I don't know. I just can't get in the whole ceramic thing. I want to make myself one because ceramic bearings are like $5 to $15 a piece. I mean, there's even more expensive ones than that, depending on how nice of a bearing you want. You have to find. See, we're keeper. We've definitely. I have to control myself. I'm an immature person. But yeah, you have to find a hole and fill it. But that's why it's a difficult topic. Like we can talk conceptually about like how to make money with your printer, but like the actual specifics, it's hard to say like go make this and sell it to this person and you'll make money. But there's definitely a ton of markets out there for customized things, and it's just like the spinners. Like if I was just to make them in basic colors and try to produce a bunch of them and sell them, I wouldn't make as much money as I do making, a relatively small amount and customizing them. Actually logged in to start watching your series for tabletop games. Yeah, the Dungeoneering series, like I'm behind on that. I have an episode I'm working on, but it's not done editing yet. That's what she said. See, there we go. Osloy. I would like to see somebody make a Ninja Flex spinner. That would be pretty cool. The AliExpress $2 ceramic bearings. That's pretty cheap for a ceramic bearing, even if it's like of mediocre quality. Because even like a cheap-ass ceramic bearing is going to be better than the average steel bearing. Check out and join a local hub. What is a local hub? I know of the 3D hub. But I need to do that. I've wanted to do that for a while. A big part of making money with your printer is just like reaching out to your local community. We had discussed briefly on one of the recent hangouts about if you have a printer and you're relatively comfortable using it and you have a decent understanding of the technology and stuff involved, think about reaching out to like your local newspaper, especially if you live in a small town, and just say to them, if you ever do a piece on 3D printing or you'd like to do a piece on 3D printing, I kind of know what I'm talking about. I'll make sure you don't say anything stupid. And, if you ever want me, I'm here. Like I've reached out a little bit to like the high school in my area, if they'd ever want to do like a, sort of like a demonstration of the technology or anything, or if they ever consider getting printers and stuff, like I'm here if you need help setting them up or trying to educate people on how to use them on like a basic level and stuff. Use the Yellow Jackets. They're the first ones I ever bought off Amazon, and they were okay. I'm actually using mostly the reds now, because if you buy them in bulk, the price isn't bad. The reds, I think, have been a little bit better than the Yellow Jackets. And like you can tell the batches are a little bit different. Like they sell them in packs of 8. And you'll get like 6 or 7 that are good, and you'll get one that has like a little bit of a flat spot on one of the balls or something, and they'll make a little bit of noise when you spin them. 3D print a bearing. You can. I've printed a couple. It's just like basically a fidget toy before like fidget toys were fidget toys. But as far as like putting them in a spinner, they probably won't work so great. Yeah, the 3D printer just doesn't lend itself that well to mass production. That's why China can make fidget spinners for $1 and we can't. It's so much cheaper to manufacture things with injection molding if you're going to make a bunch of them. And then there's like the time issue. Like if I wanted to make 100 spinners, it's going to take me a while. .3D print a planetary gear. I was actually considering making one of those. I need to make a little display thing, and I have this like gear for like a belt drive system with a little stepper motor and stuff. And I was considering making a planetary gear, but the stepper motor I have has a freaking gear kind of like welded onto the output shaft. And I don't want to buy another NEMA 17 to use the little planetary gear. So artsy stuff sells real well. That is very true. You made a rather heavy spinner. I don't know if you guys... here, I'm like... Damn it. You're forcing my hand here. These are the ones I make. Feel free to use this idea because these things sell fantastically. I make spinners with 3/4 inch steel balls on the outside, and they are great. Because the steel balls are actually cheaper than... it makes them spin really great too. Steel balls are actually cheaper than bearings to put in the outside here. And as far as people are concerned, they're like classier. It just makes them like look a little more badass. And they weigh quite a bit more. That's part of the reason I've had no problem selling spinners. This one I dropped a couple times. It's got a little bit of noise in the bearing. But if you are going to consider making these... Like, I designed this one in Fusion myself to fit the steel balls because they pop in, like, they're a little tough to get out, but they seat in there really nice. There's a little ridge in there you see that kind of traps the ball. But they snap in nice, they don't fall out unless you want to take them out, and they spin great because there's so much mass on the outside there. Nothing's glued together. Like the center bearings... It takes a little bit of force, but you can pop them out. The buttons are hard to get off. The buttons will frequently break when you try to pry them off, but no, everything fits good. It's a little tough to get all your tolerances correct. But yeah, since we're talking about making money, if anybody's trying to sell these, feel free to kind of steal my design because with the steel balls on the outside as opposed to bearings, one, it saves you a bunch of money. Because steel balls are cheaper, especially if you buy them in bulk. Like I just recently bought like, I think 500. I got a couple. I have like a couple boxes like this. I think there's like roughly 125 in here right now. And when you buy them in those kind of quantities, you're talking like 28 to 35 cents a piece, which it's kind of tough to get even cheap bearings for that much. But yeah, if you're trying to move some spinners, consider laying some out like this. They sell really well. They are really easy to sell because there's not really too many on the market that are like this. There will be now. There will be now. But no, it's like that. Like I said, it's all about finding like a little niche. And for me, this was like a little niche inside of the big spinner market. And it just, I don't really have that much competition, surprisingly, because nobody really sells spinners like this. So while I am kind of competing with the overall spinner market, like if somebody wants one of these, like I'm the guy. And then, oh, where was that one at? Because these look okay in single color. But oh man, like look how freaking classy these things look with like a really basic two-color setup. Like this one's this print actually screwed up. I wasn't paying attention when the print started. There was a little blob, and it kind of interfered with the bottom layer there, which I'm not okay with stuff like that. But like, check out the silver and blue. It looks so sweet because it's that shitty blue that I was just complaining about. That's kind of like shiny looking, but when you sandwich it in that silver, it looks kind of sweet. Because the top layers are what mostly look like crap with that blue, because it's got that oily look. But this is regular PLA, so it looks fine on the outsides. And then that shiny blue in there just kind of like looks sweet. But yeah, two-tone ones like this, man, that's like $3 extra for that sucker. Or you know what I mean? Whatever you want to charge. But yeah, custom, man. Yeah, most of mine are just out of PLA, and they hold up well. Like with the steel balls, like if you'd throw this on a concrete floor, like it's probably going to break. But no, overall the PLA holds up well. Because you see on mine, like they're a little beefy around the outside edge. Like I know some are thinner, but like I beefed mine up and I print them at 100% infill, so they're actually kind of tough. They're not too bad. And you see with the heavy balls on the outside, they spin really nice. So it's all good. What size are they? 3/4 inch. I don't know how many millimeter that is, but 3/4 inch steel balls. And like I said, when you buy them in high quantities, they're really cheap. They are really cheap. Print them out of ABS and they sand like butter. Well, I don't sand them, so I don't want to. I want to mess with them as little as possible. Yours are bigger. You have bigger balls. They're about as big. Like I don't think, I think they could actually stand to be a little bit smaller because they are like heavy, and they become kind of hazardous when you give them to kids. Because like if a kid would throw that at another kid, like somebody's gonna lose some teeth. But what time is it? It's about midnight. We'll cut it at midnight. I don't want to go too much past that. I want to play a game or two before I go to bed. As a kid, I used to love pinballs. They are sweet. My dad ran an arcade. I used to pocket the occasional pinball because I think they're 1 inch, aren't they? They're basically 1 inch. They might actually be a hair over an inch, but I think pinballs are 1 inch. But yeah, they're sweet. Like my grandparents used to have, what are they called? Plinko machines. They used to have some of those in their basement. I used to pocket some of those too. Something just like pleasing about having like a bunch of steel balls. And this is why schools are banning them. Well, again, another potential use for them. I thought this the one day when I was somewhere and it was kind of late, and there was some dude kind of creeping around, and I was like, man, if I take this and just kind of like, I would not want to get hit in the face with that. Just kind of like get it between your knuckles. Hell, if you had like 4 of them, you could just get them lined up in there. Like, I would not want to get hit in the face with that. that would ruin somebody's day. Yo-yos are deadly too. Everything's deadly if someone with bad intentions has it. Hell, look at this mug. This mug weighs like a pound. I could beat the hell out of somebody with this thing. Mr. Spinnerhands, he's a new DC hero. I could see kids being into that. They'd be like, oh man, he's got spinners for hands. That's crazy. Or like they'll make some like new emo movie. It's like Edward Spinnerhands. Ridiculous. We're definitely off topic here. Dr. Nilla. I'm not a doctor. I'm not even a med student. The UK government will ban them if they see this. No, what's going to happen is the Daily Mail is going to do a hit piece on me and say I'm like training terrorists to knock people's teeth out. Paid 30 cents each for 3/4 balls. I don't know what the exact price was. Honestly, offhand, I don't know what it was. I think it was like I think it was under 30 cents. Cuz I think I bought like I think it was like 485 or 500. I don't think I have it down here. I have one of the slingshots. But there's a guy on YouTube. I've watched him for like ever. And he has the Slingshot channel. And this handle I've shown these on before, but these handles are 3D printed, and this is a design of his. This is an okay slingshot. The one that I actually use, I was shooting marbles in the yard today. The one I actually use on a regular basis is upstairs. It actually uses like bands instead of tubes. But yeah, they recently, the Daily Mail recently did a hit piece on him because he does like testing for various things and stuff, and they said he was trying to like train terrorists how to stab police, and it's like, Jesus. You should try them in wood. Yeah, this is a fantastic slingshot. Like I said, the other one I actually got TheraBand. The way to go is if you've never watched any of his videos, like this is pretty unanimously seen as like the best material for making slingshot bands. These are actually exercise bands. It's called TheraBand Gold. And you have to buy yourself a roller cutter. This smells like cocoa beans, which is kind of weird. This stuff is freaking fantastic. And it's kind of cool buying it in bulk because you can cut your bands to like the width and length and taper them if you want. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. Because like I cut the first set in what was seen as like a standard way. And after using it for a while, like I already see how I want to do like my other sets and kind of customize them. But man, that other slingshot, I'm going to do a video about this stuff soon, since I finally have them all assembled and have a little bit of experience shooting with them. That other slingshot that I've been using, that I've gotten used to, I shoot marbles with them, just like regular glass marbles, and I can accurately hit soda cans at like 150 feet now, like reliably. And I was terrible when I started, but I've probably shot 500 marbles or so is about all the experience I have with it. And man, I've already got it dialed in. The bands are nice and even, which is kind of tough to do. But once you have it all set up, it's really accurate. It shoots really consistently. The yellow stuff is, I don't know if you can see it on the other, but the brand name is actually right there. It's TheraBand. TheraBand Gold. They have like different colors that are different resistance levels. 6 foot of... I know that's bright as hell, but it's TheraBand Gold. If you search for it on Amazon, it's there. And also, if you guys didn't see in the description, I finally did sign up for some affiliate links with Amazon and stuff. So if you want to help the channel out without like donating or being like a patron or anything, it does really help out to use the affiliate links I have down there. So if you want to buy some of that stuff, it really would help if you'd buy it through the link, and it doesn't cost anything extra if you pick some of that stuff up. But when I do the video, I actually want to have a bunch of bands pre-cut, because I know some people are going to find that part like intimidating. So I'll probably have a bunch of bands and like the leather pouches. I have a bunch of pouches and band sets together for you to like assemble your own thing. And I'll sell them basically at cost just to give people access to them. Gold. I do physiology with red green because I'm made of special. Is the red green stronger? I don't know where like the gold ranks in like the overall like strength or resistance levels. I just know that's what like all the slingshot guys recommend. Got a link to the Slingshot STL. I do not off of hand. It's on... Oh, I have a keyboard. Let me see if I can find it quick. I think it's... I might just be able to find the video. That might be the easiest way. I can't remember the name of the site. Oh, I did find it. It's on My Mini Factory. But the one he links to, I actually don't like. I'll just throw links in chat here. Here is one of the videos. That's Jorg Sprov. Super cool guy. If you've never watched him before, I freaking love his channel. He has super interesting videos. He makes all kinds of stuff that's like rubber powered. Oh god. I'm on My Mini Factory and they're advertising the $99 3D printer. It looks like a miniature A8, sort of. Let me see if I can find this quick, because it is on My Mini Factory. I typed in Slingshot. That's not what we want. Rambone by Jorg Sprov. There it is. And it is free. It's actually missing a piece. It's missing the little clamps for the bands, but that's not that big of a deal. But there's a link to the STL. I probably won't put it in the description of this video. But like I said, hopefully in less than a week or so, I'll do that video. Because I'm excited to take the camera outside and shoot some like outside footage. I've never done that before, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. It is the start with 2 T's. I should get one of those. Order now. Watch it be like $99 and then like $80 shipping. It's like the net cost is more than the A8. That's kind of weird. I clicked on the link and it's like, you seem to be in the wrong store. Would you like to change to the right one? Screw you, hippie. I followed the link you gave me. It says it's $99. Let's proceed to check out and enter my zip code and see how much it costs. Yeah, it's fine. Change to the right store. You bastard. Because there's no way shipping is free on a $99 printer. Oh, I'm not creating an account. And we come to a screeching halt. You dig that orange rim trim? And that's old news, True Tech. Haven't you been here in a while? It's been orange for like forever. I clicked where you told me to. I linked YouTube and the... But that's actually not... I guess that wasn't the perfect video. The video I linked is actually to a 3D printed slingshot that he has, and it's kind of a cool design, but it's not as good as like the Rambone one it's called. This actual STL is the second link I put up, if anybody's interested in making these, because it is a great little slingshot. It looks good, but the only review I saw, they were sent one that didn't work. Small print area. It looks like it's a bigger print area than the Trinus, honestly. I don't know how big it actually is. Oh, you're referring to the other site. Yeah, God only knows what site they're sending you to. That's like, I don't know, that worries me when you see stuff like that. You're a part-time genius. So am I. I think we all are. The resistance bands are from lowest to highest. Also, gold is the highest resistance. The bands end up being really thin. Like the ones on the Slingshot I have upstairs are only basically, I tapered them. They go from 1 inch to like 1.25 inches. So they're not very big. Or I'm sorry, it's not even that. It's 20 millimeters to 30 millimeters. So that's what, like 3/4 of an inch to 1.25 inches. .120 by 140 by 130. That's actually bigger than the Trinus, I think. I think the Trinus is like 120 by 120 by 110, something like that. So it is bigger than the Trinus, and that's pretty cheap. You're a full-time moron. Don't say that, guys. What did I say the Slingshot was missing? Well, if you look, we'll go over this, and then it'll be about time to wrap it up. If you look on the one that he actually carves out of wood, on this one it's not relevant because you see there's like paracord that goes through. It's knotted. The rubber bands, like ignore these. They were just to hold the orientation of the paracord so they don't rotate. But the paracord goes through the actual ram bone thing. If you're using bands, the one that he actually carved, the bands come down over the top, and then there's plates on either side of this that a bolt goes through and pinches the plates so it holds the bands. It actually pinches them between this and a plate. And he did not include the plates in the design. It's not that big of a deal. Like, I didn't use them on the one I did. I just, if you can imagine the bands coming over, and I wrapped rubber around there to hold them in place, and then they like come back over top of these uprights when you actually use it. But if it was actually complete, it should have those, but it doesn't. But yeah, that's what it's missing. But like I said, you can actually complete a very nice little Slingshot without them. So be personal preference. All you'd have to do, like to make them, if I ended up making them, I'd probably just take like a picture of this with like my cell phone to get the contour of that, and then import that into like Tinkercad or something, and kind of basically trace a part, and make a really basic replacement to bolt on there and pinch that. Or you could actually just make like a little square basically that's approximate dimensions and get away with that. You need to make it for the Xbox Connect. It wouldn't be bad. It fits really great in the hand. Like, that's one of the cool things. It's kind of a cool approach that he, I don't know, I could see designing other parts like that. Like, he hand carved that and then someone scanned it. So like when he hand carved it, he was like tweaking it constantly so it fits the hand nice. And I scaled, this one's at 100% scale. Like, I don't know how big your hands are, Joey, if you're going to make one, but I actually scaled this down to 90% because he's a big dude. And this is a little bit big for my hand, but scaling it down to 90%, it fits like perfect. It fits like absolutely perfect. But yeah, ABS is good. I was wondering at first if this would work in PLA, and it does. This thing is so freaking strong. Like, even out of PLA, I think I have it at like 70 or 80% infill, so it's pretty dense. But and make sure you have your support settings dialed in. Like this one was okay. The second one turned out better because it prints like this, and there's a whole bunch of support material under these curved surfaces. So if you don't have it dialed in right, you're going to get kind of an ugly finish. But I sanded this one, so it still feels okay. You can pick up the start in New York. Is that for shipping, Keeper? Holy crap. That's $150 just for shipping. Holy crap. Or do you mean it's $150 total? So it'd be like $50 shipping. Because that's insanity. That's kind of what I said. I was like, watch it cost like $99, and then it's like that much in shipping. All right, guys. Well, anyway, unless anybody had any like questions before we go here, collection in New York. I wonder where in New York it would be. I would make a road trip for something like that. It'd be a cool little project. An excuse to get the family out of the house. But like I said, unless anybody had any parting questions here, where the hell did Rubber Band come from? Oh no. Oh no. He broke our slingshot. Not really broke it, but one of our little restraints came off. But anyway, for like the 4th time, unless anybody had any parting questions or anything they wanted to talk about, we're going to wrap it up here. I'm going to play some computer games before I go to bed, and then... That's crazy. So it's like $240. For $240, there's like a million other printers I'd want to buy. That's crazy. What am I wearing? This is an Inflamed shirt that my wife got me like a long time ago. Great stream. Don't patronize me. But you can patronize my affiliate links. Waka waka. But like I said, they are down there if anybody wants to use them. I'm kind of shocked how many people bought A8s off my affiliate link. That's kind of crazy. I think like 13 people bought A8s off of that link. Just since I did that stream, it's kind of crazy. But I think it is a solid printer if anybody's interested in getting like a starter printer for cheaps. Roll size. I don't know. I'm really glad I bought it. Like I said, I'm kind of thinking now that it might have actually been a better move for me for my first printer than going with something like so big. Because it's a great printer for getting your feet wet, for modding, getting used to like the whole process of 3D printing and stuff. But yeah, solid little printer. I'm excited to get the A6 eventually, whenever this thing sells enough spinners to buy one. Tonight I will be playing some Heroes of the Storm, so I can smash my keyboard and get all angry at all the noobs that get put on my team. Because I do ranked games all the time. But anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out with me. Probably sometime this weekend, hopefully, I'll edit the stream and put up a video of just doing the 40mm fan install if anybody's interested in seeing that. Though most of you here, I think, pretty much get what's going on with that. Like I said, hopefully that video will be 10 minutes or less. Hopefully it'll be less than that, because it is a really simple install. You just have to kind of be mindful of what you're doing with the wires and stuff, and kind of plan out for your cable lengths and all that stuff. But pretty happy with it. I can't believe how quiet this thing is. That is crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. A-Net's game. I'm not getting sucked into chat. That sucks, True Tech. Yeah, that sucks, True Tech. That's why, like, I always feel guilty when I have, like, a good experience with something and, like, tell people that, and then they don't have a good experience. Like, I feel guilty. But it happens. It happens with any kind of technology. The first almost $600 graphics card I bought, I had problems with. And, like, everybody and their brother had, like, talked nothing but like, amazing stuff about him. Should have started a print to get a full effect of the silence. I'm going to start one before I go to bed here. I'll let it run overnight, and I'll get something started on the A-Net. I don't know what, but I try to keep them running all the time. Anyway, guys, I'm lingering. Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully I'll see you sometime. I don't know if there will be a video up this weekend. If not, I'll see you Tuesday. And anybody that was here for this tonight, leave some feedback or send me a message about what you think about the later night streaming. Like, it kind of is a good fit for me. It's a little bit weird streaming so early, but I think it would be kind of a good balance to stream like early on Tuesday, late on Thursday, to kind of give everybody a chance to make it, instead of just like catering to the dudes who are available earlier in the day. Because I know, especially like with international viewers, like certain times are just really bad. Like I know for the Australian crowd, 10 a.m.'s not ideal. But yeah, if you have any feedback on that, send me a message or leave a comment or something. But we'll try to get something worked out. I'm still feeling out YouTube and stuff. It's like a format and how it works out best for everybody. But day streams affect my day job productivity. You can't blame that on me, even if it is my fault. So, anyway, I'll see you guys next time whenever that happens to be. So, have a good night or day or mid-afternoon or whatever it is wherever you are.